What is going on, guys? The Inside the Blue podcast, and today we have a Giants post-game reaction. We didn't have a preview this week. I apologize for that. Had some other videos and other stuff to get done, but we are back with Giants talk. What a win. What a win for the New York Giants, and Seattle is such a tough place, such a tough environment, and the Giants put up 29 points, and Giants, of course, haven't had great success overall in Seattle over the past years. Pretty sure their last win in Seattle was in 2020 when Russell Wilson was still the QB of the Seattle Seahawks and Colt McCoy was the quarterback for the New York Giants in 2020. Giants getting the win there, and they get a win in Seattle, 29-20. Game was probably more close than we probably anticipated, but the Giants always like to make things interesting. They made the Browns game interesting. They let the Commanders, put up a bunch of field goals. But we're talking about the Giants against Seahawks. And what a game. I mean, the good thing about this Giants team to start off is I think Shane Bowen is starting to get more respect now. And I was definitely a critic in previous weeks, kind of that Commanders week where they allowed a bunch of field goals. And now this Giants defense is starting to look like a legit defense. That front, that defensive front with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeaux, it's starting to be that big three, that big elite three that I was talking about. And if they can get hot and they could start making plays and getting sacks and creating pressures, just making it hell to the opposing offensive line, it could really help the Giants win football games and just be a unit that is going to be respected in the NFL. And I think we're starting to see that. I think the Giants, Dexter Lawrence having a great game, Brian Burns with that fourth down sack, Kayvon Thibodeaux I think had a half a sack. I'd have to look back at the stats, but a really good game. And a really good game from a bunch of guys. Drew Phillips returned to the lineup, and Adoree Jackson returned. They had good games. Special teams, blocking a field goal at the end from Isaiah Simmons. That was crazy. I was looking at the field goal. I'm like, I feel like something is off. I feel like something's going to happen. And Isaiah Simmons jumps over the center or whatever it was, maybe the right guard, right interior, jumps over, blocks it. Bryce Ford Wheating, a guy that has not had a reception at a Giants touchdown. Of course, he was that undrafted free agent that had some hype behind him. He scores, and I mean the broadcasters were saying that he probably should have went down with 55 seconds left. It didn't matter because the Giants' defense was good enough to win them that football game. And something to definitely take into account as we're talking about the Giants' defense, the Giants lead the NFL in sacks. Wink Martindale, we never got to see that. Wink Martindale compared to Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen's a guy that's not going to blitz heavy, not like that. Wink Martindale is going to throw everything at you. Pressure. And the Giants lead the NFL with 22 sacks. It's the third most sacks through 5 games over the last 15 seasons. We actually have a pass rush. We actually have a defense that can play with those defensive front, the secondary, Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden. I think PFF rated Micah McFadden 6th amongst defensive players or some crazy stat like that. I gotta look back at it. But Micah McFadden's a good linebacker, and him and Bobby Okereke are really good together. Those guys are really good together. And I mean, my overall thoughts on yesterday, like I said at the start of the year, the way that the Giants and Brian Daboll is going to keep his job is if he can be competitive in these games. The Giants have been competitive aside from the Vikings game, I'd say, where they kind of just got blown out of the water. The Commanders game was close. The Cowboys game was close, even though some mistakes. The Browns game they won, and the Seattle Seahawks game they won. So, Brian Daboll is showing that he is a great play caller. He is helping out Daniel Jones be successful. He's helping Darius Slayton. He's helping Wanda Robinson get open. Jalen Hyatt made an appearance in this game but didn't get much. He didn't get a reception, didn't do anything. So I don't know what the future is with Jalen Hyatt. It seemed like it was just a Darius Slayton and Wanda Robinson show, and Tyron Tracy in the backfield. I mean, 129 yards on the ground, really solid stuff. Theo Johnson had a few catches, 4 receptions, so that's cool, getting him involved, because I think he's an underrated draft pick that the Giants got. I liked him from Penn State. They drafted him, and he could be a good player in the future for the New York Giants. Another thing that I love about this Giants team, it's the offensive line. I guarantee, I'm going to say it, if the Giants had the offensive line they had last year, I don't think they come close to winning this game. I think Daniel Jones doesn't have that performance. Daniel Jones finally has an offensive line. We're kind of seeing what he can finally do with this offensive line, and obviously help from Brian Daboll. But things are starting to come together, in my opinion, for this organization. Now, I know we're only 5 games deep, so I think it's easy to say that things could terribly go wrong through these next 12 games. They've handled the gauntlet pretty good so far. That week 3 to week 8, the Dallas game wasn't a blowout. They beat Cleveland, and they just beat Seattle on the road, a team that is not easy to play against one of the best offenses in football. So really good stuff there. A lot of positives out of this game. A lot of positives. I can't really name a negative besides maybe not getting Jalen Hyatt involved enough. And I keep saying about getting Hyatt involved. It's because I think he's a good deep threat, and I think he's got potential. They said in training camp that he's a better route runner, but it seemed like the game plan that they had, it was really to favor Darius Slayton, and Darius Slayton had a day. It's kind of like that annual Darius Slayton 100-plus receiving yard game. It feels like it happens every year. It happens in Week 5 against the Seattle Seahawks. But, yeah, I think this is the best offensive line we've seen in quite some time. It's been said that it's been the best offensive line we've seen since 2008, and 2008 is a while ago, 10-plus years. So, another thing, getting back to the defensive line, is it is just wrecking these offensive lines. Dexter Lawrence had 3 sacks. He has 6 in the first 5 games as an interior defensive lineman. I think the most he had was 7.5, I think. I'd have to check the stats, but Dexter Lawrence is obviously, I've said it again as a slightly biased Giants fan, I think he's the best defensive tackle in the NFL. I think he's better than I think he's better than Chris Jones. I think those two are kind of on the same tier, but I lean towards Dexter Lawrence. That's probably biased because I am a Giants fan, but regardless, Dexter Lawrence creates havoc, and that's what you need. He's getting double teamed, he's getting held, and he's still sacking Geno Smith. The fourth down sack from Brian Burns, in my opinion, it's a very aggressive call. There's 14 minutes left in the game. You could probably trust your defense against the Giants offense, and plus you're in your own 30-yard line, and I know it was only like a 4th and 3, something like that, but I feel like if Seattle didn't do that, they probably would have had a better chance of winning this game. Thankfully, for the defensive standpoint, they held the Giants to a field goal. The Giants couldn't get much. Daniel Jones couldn't find anyone in the end zone. So, Seattle gets that, and then they go 95 yards from Geno Smith. A lot of quick play, a lot of no-huddle offense that definitely fatigued the Giants. And they get a touchdown to make it, 23-20, something like that, or something. I forgot exact. I think it was 23. Yeah, that's what it was. It was 23-13, and then they scored a touchdown. Okay. Another thing, Adoree Jackson's pass block on 3rd and 4 before the field goal block. Was that the most overlooked play in the game? Do we I don't know if we look at that play enough, but regardless, getting Andrew Phillips back in the game, getting Adoree Jackson back, big stuff. Because Deonte Banks, when it was him alone, he was kind of in his in no man's land. He couldn't really get the help. Deonte Banks was better this week, held DK Metcalf to no touchdowns. A lot of people thought DK Metcalf was going to find the end zone. He does not. Doesn't have a great game. Deonte Banks with a massive bounce back. And we need that. We need Deonte Banks to be that guy that locks down their wide receiver ones. If the wide receiver 2 and 3s are having good games, that's on Drew Phillips and Adoree Jackson. But a really solid game out of Deonte Banks. We needed that. And I guess let's get into some more stats. Week 5, Daniel Jones against the Blitz was outstanding. 13 of 17, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's good, because the Blitz last year, the Giants could not handle the Blitz. When the Cowboys were blitzing you, Seattle was blitzing you, and the Seattle beat the crap out of you last year, it was not good. Now it feels like Daniel Jones is finally realizing that, hey, I have an offensive line that I can work with. I can work with this, and now I don't have to scramble 2 seconds after. I can stay in the pocket, let plays develop, and throw the ball downfield. And that's what I really like about this offensive line and the Carmen Brasil effect. Daniel Jones' last 4 games, 6 touchdowns, 261 yards per game, 68 completion, and 1 interception. But that was the Hail Mary play to Jalen Hyatt that got intercepted. So really take that interception as really no interception. So Daniel Jones basically has 6 touchdowns in the last 4 games. That's good. All right, that's good. And the Giants seem to be playing better offensively. It looks like a lot more points being scored. The Vikings defense is probably, in my opinion, the number 1 defense in the league. They have locked down San Fran, even though they had injuries. They were locking down the Jets in London. They locked down the Giants. They locked down a lot of good teams. They have a good resume. They locked down C.J. Stroud. Like, the Vikings are a good team in the NFC this year. So, another thing, what I like about Daniel Jones is just the fact that he's playing more confident each week. Daniel Jones, it seems to be that Daniel Jones feels like, okay, I actually have a team that I can work with. Now, I'm not saying the other teams that he couldn't work with, but no offensive line. Really, no wide receiver 1. Now, it feels like Malik Nabers was maybe used too much. I know wide receiver 1, that's your go-to option, but it feels like in that Dallas game, he was overused, and maybe that's what caused the concussion injury. Hopefully, Nabers is back for next week against the Bengals. But another good win. Another good win for this team. Daniel Jones is 12th with a QBR of 61.3. That is ahead of players such as Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. That's good. That's good company. Those are good QBs. And I think Daniel Jones has looked solid so far. It's definitely much different than 2023. Giants are 2-3. They have the chance to go 3-3 against the Bengals. Bengals have had some poor defensive games, so maybe the Giants take advantage of that. They have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, of course, and T. Higgins. So that's something to look out for next week. Regardless, a really fun win. It's always fun making Giants win pods. It's not fun making Giants pods when they lose because there's nothing exciting about a loss, especially when it's a Monday. But anyways, guys, another video. Great win. A great win. I mean, a really solid win up and down the lineup. A lot of stuff to be happy about. Not much to be pissed off about. Brian Daboll has been coaching his ass off. He really wants to win with this team. He really wants to stay. And I'm really excited for the future. Excited for the next upcoming weeks. But that's going to do it for you guys. Of course, I'm the Inside the Blue podcast. We mainly break down the New York Giants, New York Yankees, and the New York Rangers for hockey. We make some out-of-the-league podcasts. We make some picks. Don't forget to check out all of our NFL picks. It's been fun. This was a great video. And let's go Giants. See ya.